This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. As someone who uses quite a lot of the various modelers, so I think I've made it sort of my thing that I try not to be too partial on a lot of this stuff, because I feel like there are people that come to YouTube to try and learn different aspects of like different modelers. So my first online experience with this sort of stuff was using HELIX native and then the HX stomp, which Line 6 sent to me in like 2018 on the basis that I'd made some tones with HELIX native. I got people asking me to share the tones and stuff like that, and that's why I started sharing the tones and creating these folders that you can now get access to in Gumroad if you want them. The idea with that was that people were asking me how I got those tones, if that makes sense. These days I tried to show it on screen as well, generally how I'm building these tones with whatever device it is, in case people don't have the money or have the desire to actually purchase those and support in that way, which is totally fine. The thing is that I then decided like this was a way to kind of generate more kind of interest and have something different to mess around with each day, to the stage now where, you know, I've got things like the HELIX. I do stuff for G66, who are fractal distributors now, which is really cool. I do stuff for Boss. I've got a quad cortex up there. I've got a Hotone Ampero. I just recently got the head rush. Am I missing anything? That's the regular stuff, right? I did have a Kemper. I don't have that anymore. And yeah, so one of the questions that I get quite a lot, and I guess people are fair to ask this stuff because most people don't have lots of these units, right? It's quite expensive stuff. It makes sense that people would ask you, like, which is your actual favorite. And Devin Townsend actually put up some posts this week about his kind of touring setup, and it kind of made me think, right, well, yeah, I can just share what I would use. And you can tell this if you watch enough of my stuff, that most days I'm using a Line 6 Helix or HX Stomp. As it happens, I don't really have a close tie with the company or anything like that. I'd be open to it though, but as it is, you know, I just use it because I like it. I do sometimes get discounts on some products, and some products they might sometimes send me, like the HX Stomp XL, but I did buy the Helix, and I bought HX Stomps in the past. I did buy my HX effects. I did buy the Line 6 Catalyst. It's not like a situation where they're sending me free gear or anything. It's just that I like to use it. And the Devin Townsend thing, obviously he's a Fractal endorsee. What I thought was interesting was that he felt that it was appropriate to share his experience with a Line 6 Helix, which he uses live. So he said, I've been using Line 6 for years, their wireless systems, the Firehawk amplifiers, pods for years. They're a great forward-thinking company that I definitely endorse. But two, like my involvement with Keys Will Scratch a very particular itch for making ambient music. Line 6 Helix Floor is one of the most fun, creative, intuitive products I've ever come across for guitar. Yes, technically it's a modeler that can do similar things to the Axe effects, but where it excels in ways that just inspired the heck out of me was the creative thinking behind its workflow. It has so many delays and crazy effects that have been thought out in a super fun and absurdly creative way that when I received this unit, I wrote all of the puzzle and snuggles with just this unit acting as a phenomenal ambient music generating center. It's like a starship on the floor, and the engineers spent so much time thinking about the quickest way to access creative inspiration so you don't have to think about what you're doing, that I just fell in love with it. I use it at the start of each show to make loops and ambience. People often compare modelers based on specs and amp sounds, of course, but for me it's apples to oranges. Both Axe Effects and the Helix 4 both have a place in my world because they're both incredible products that inspire completely different ways of creative expression. I'll say it again, this thing is fun and I use it for my ambient guitar work. Can the Fractal make ambient sounds? Absolutely. Can the Helix make traditional amp sounds? Absolutely. But I use them in completely different ways and love them for their different workflows. And again, that's... I think I more or less agree basically with that. For me, my top two favorite kind of modeling companies are Fractal and Line 6. Sort of OGs in a way as well, but I think Fractal certainly inspired Line 6 to make a more expensive floor unit. Their engineers have said as much. And I think Line 6 were the first to bring out this kind of idea that then Neural DSP also used, which was this kind of fixed two processor thing, where you've got quite a creative way of, you know, setting out effects and signal flow and all that sort of stuff. What I really like about it is that it doesn't have a touch screen, but still has some of the capabilities of things like a touch screen. So, you know, like assigning things to buttons really quickly, assigning multiple things to buttons, being able to label the buttons so that when you come back to your preset, you can remember what it was. I'll jump in and I'll show you here. But yeah, for me, if I had to choose between any of these things, it would either be Line 6 or Fractal. I think for me, the other companies either don't have as much in there as Fractal do, or aren't as creatively inspiring as the Helix stuff is to me. So those would be the two that I choose. But I mean, if I'm pushed to really choose, the one that you see me using most days is a Helix or an HX Stomp. And I've really grown to like those units. I think the other thing is that as you spend more time with a unit, you get quicker using them. So if I had spent more time with Fractal, maybe it'd be the case that I'd have that same sort of feeling, where, you know, using it becomes a bit more second nature. I'm at the stage with the Helix, certainly through lockdown, I spent way more time delving into it, where it's kind of, I just know where things go and how to use the unit a bit better than I did before. So I think that's another thing, like switching between units all the time probably will mean that you don't necessarily ever get that full kind of connection with the unit that, you know, the HX Stomp, for instance, I really know that quite well inside and out and how to use it. The Helix as well. The Fractal stuff, to me, I still take time to really get into it because I'm not using it every single day, if that makes sense. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll show you now this preset and just the sorts of things that I can do quite quickly with it that I really like the HELIX for. Okay, so what I've currently got here is this kind of preset that I've just sort of re-put together. So freeze on this button. Press volume pedal if we want to introduce more stuff to the freeze. Now I'm already finding that immensely kind of inspiring, but what I was thinking was, what if we added even more to this? So the stuff that I like about the HELIX really is that it's quite quick and easy to do interesting things. So I'm going to add a looper down here, stereo looper, 6-switch looper. We'll move that over here. But also what I wanted to do was to add a whole different thing going on below. So we're going to add a stereo reverse delay. But we're going to move that down onto this path here, and it's going to be just coming in by itself for a completely different kind of signal thing. So reverse delay, let me just check what that does to start with. Action, move that one here. And then I need to change this input here to be guitar. We've got multiple inputs here now. You can now hear there's that little bit of kind of reverse stuff coming through. What I'm going to also do is set up an auto pan in modulation section. Stereo, tremolo, auto pan, and sine wave. Where are you? Over here. And also, if I stick a shimmer on here, it's just really quick to sort of build pretty cool things. Let's keep it on the Charlie setting, octave up, intensity down a bit, feedback way down, mix fairly high. You can now hear that we started to introduce this really cool little pad type thing. It's kind of happening behind this stuff, right? And we could even put that, let's leave that trem area. And I'm going to control this with my expression pedal 2, and that's perfect. So save that. And so, you know, we could equally put in other interesting things here, like a glitch delay. Where are you? Glitchy. Here. And I think this is one of the more creative kind of blocks within HELIX. Let's keep them both up like this. And we'll leave trails on. And then just super easy and super quick to assign stuff to buttons. And I think this is what Devin Townsend was talking about. Like, it just enables you to very quickly get into this state of creating. So now with this down, we were where we were before. If I put this down, put this volume pedal back on so that we don't let everything into the freeze. And if I'm thinking that's too much, I could just take that back on the expression pedal. That for me is why it's just so fun to use the Helix and so quick to get in and do things that would be quite complex on other modelers. They've made it this thing which is quite simple, and I think that's obviously why Neural DSP copied them. Yeah, this was the preset I was using in the intro. I'm going to turn the glitch delay down slightly. Again, you touch it and then you're into the menu. Super quick editing. It's, you know, you can see what's going on with each of these if you just touch through them. It's really still a very clever design, I think, especially for something without a touchscreen. So yeah, I'll drop this into the freeze folder if you want to check on Grumroad. But yeah, that's why I think Devin Townsend's right about some of these things, and this is my favourite modeler still.